This is TWiT.
Show of hands. How many of you, for instance, had an 8-sleep bed that wouldn't recline because of the Amazon power outage? We learned a lesson, didn't we, this week, about how much we are reliant on AWS.
Well, especially East 1, because it's the original. So,
Yeah, so I didn't notice it that much. When was the outage? It was 15 hours. It was a long outage, according to ours. Do we know when it was? It was, Ookla said the Down Detector service received more than 17 million reports of disrupted services offered by 3,500 organizations. The three biggest countries where reports originated were the US, the UK, and Germany. Snapchat was down. Roblox was down. And AWS was down, of course, because that was an AWS outage. Amazon now says the root cause, it's always DNS, isn't it? If it's not BGP,
but
it's DNS.
This was a weird
database,
DNS
right? I thought it was Bravo database or something like that.
It was DynamoDB.
Dynamo.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it was two different instances of the DNS writer running at once because the first one ran too slowly, so it kicked off another one, and then that one overwrote the old one overwrote the stuff from the new one.
They had what is famously known in computer science as a race condition, which is one of my favorite errors. First of all, because you can't predict it. It's kind of chaotic. It's when two threads, two processes race each other, and it's unpredictable who's going to win the race. So the settings are conflicting. And a race condition is a notoriously difficult thing to discover because, unless you're really careful about locking each of the threads, it can happen.
Yeah.
So the Dynamo DNS management system, which is used for the load balancing, periodically creates, it's an automated system, new DNS configurations. This is from Ars Technica based on reporting from AWS. Creates new DNS configurations for endpoints within AWS, like AWS East. Because two of them tried to do the same thing, the race condition resided in the DNS enactor. It went cuckoo, is the technical term.
The old instance erased the new entries, and the new instance erased the older entries, and then there's no entries.
They fought. It's after you, Alphonse. No, after you, Alphonse. No, after you, Alphonse. And nothing ever worked. It was DNS, but only because there was no DNS. Right. So then that, according to, this is a great story at Ars Technica. The damage resulting from the failure then put a strain on EC2, which was located in US East 1. Even after DynamoDB was restored, this is the problem with these. They're all reliant upon each other. There was a cascading failure. EC2 worked through, quote, a significant backlog of network state propagations, which needed to be processed. Amazon's engineers went on to say, while new EC2 instances could be launched successfully, they would not have the necessary network connectivity due to delays in the network state propagation. In other words, no DNS, no connectivity.
Yeah. So I launched it. You just can't talk to it.
Just sit there. Man, I've never been in a network operations center during a crisis like this, but I bet you have, or you.
Yeah. We call it, you have this situation where you bring a service up, but there's so much backlog of traffic that it immediately knocks the service back down again.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, what do we do? Like, I know we need to turn it on, but every turn it on, it kills it. So you've got to kind of throttle traffic, get it fully started, wait a minute to let it warmed up enough that it can kick more traffic on. Like, meantime, the backlog just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah. And the engineers are sitting there. It reminds me of something like Chernobyl and the HBO kind of fictionalized story of Chernobyl, where you're watching the nuclear reactor engineers look at it, and they just it's a cascading series of failures. There's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do.
It's that look of
uh-oh.
Just the uh-oh, right? And what's crazy is it's probably Manassas or one of the other places a little bit up there in Virginia. My sister doesn't live too far from an Amazon data center, and it's they've been building these for a long time, but now there's so many. And if you look into like Richmond, and Norfolk has a big one, of course, because of the naval base and things like that. It's weird that it started in just such a small little place that otherwise is very mundane. Like Manassas is a very chill part of Virginia. Not a lot going on, but behind the trees, everything you do, everything you care about, your mattress is controlled by a building hysterical? Behind these trees.
Isn't that hysterical?
It's uncanny in so many ways, but then it also goes to show you how tied in we are.
Well, and
we're already having a problem with data centers affecting residential neighborhoods, but like, we kind of need the data centers. So like, what are we going to do?
Well, and also maybe we should be more resilient. Like, why is a mattress calling out to Amazon Web Services before it can recline?
Well, even if it is, why isn't it got a backup one?
Right.
I think a lot of cases here, what you're seeing is people just found out their stuff was misconfigured because it should have failed to another section or to a different region, including a bunch of Amazon's own services. But that's pretty typical with these sort of originals, is that you still have some old stuff there you haven't quite balanced out across the new networks yet, and you find it out the hard way.
This is what
you
Ookla
realize
said.
That when the thing went out, you couldn't put your back up. That was the problem. The mattress was stuck
too late. Yeah.
I have to say, my Helix sponsor, but I'll say it anyway. My Helix mattress has a little. It's funny when I set it up. It has a recliner. It has a little adapter for a 9-volt battery, so that if the power goes out, you can still recline it. Which I thought that's a thoughtful little thing. I didn't connect the battery, but I know that that's there, and I guess I could run downstairs, get a 9-volt battery for stuck.
Yeah, my thing has some kind of LG Bluetooth in it. I don't use it. I just use the controller, the little remote that comes with it. But my phone, if I go to Bluetooth to add something new, I always see these two LG, because I have a Split King.
Yeah.
And I see these two LG Bluetooth devices that want to talk to my phone. And I was like, why do I want to Bluetooth connect my mattress? There's no speaker, but I guess it was so that there's an app that you can use the speaker in position.
And see, that's part of the problem. Everybody wants an app.
Yeah.
Not because it's better for the end user, but because that's better for them, because they can they get information from your
telemetry.
Phone. Telemetry,
100%.
But from, as a home assistant aficionado, one of my basic tests is unplug the internet. How does your house
see
work?
What happens? What a great idea. Everybody right now, go Richard, unplug your internet. No, wait a minute. Don't. No.
I needed you this week. I'm trying to set up Home Assistant. And of course, I have a bunch of Macs. So I'm like, I'm not going to do it on the Mini because I heard so many weird things about doing it on the Mac. So I have an old Lenovo notebook. Yeah, and I pulled it out and I tried to get it on with Ubuntu, and it just will not behave. Like it is acting. So I'm thinking, should I buy a yellow or a green or whatever the heck that thing Leo has in his hand now?
This is it. You know why I have this? Because Richard Campbell, a guy named Richard Campbell, told me,
all right, dude,
get the HA green.
Just get it green.
And then I also got the little dongle. I don't know if I need this. The ZBT1. This is for Thread, I think.
Yeah, this guy connected. It needs to be on that cable so it's away from the USB controller.
Yeah, because it'll interfere.
That's not optional. You'll look at it and go, that's stupid. Plug this guy connected in there and then wonder why nothing works. Yeah, you need that. Yeah.
But then I just disconnected it so nobody can turn off the lights.
That's better than buying a Nook.
I mean, you can do all of that. It is kind
of a Nook.
Yeah, but
it's cheaper.
What's nice about those little Odroids is no spinning fans, made for the purpose, pre-configured. When you're not happy with it, unplug it and plug it back in again. Like there's nothing to do.
You just did, by the way.
I got enough stuff to take care of. I just want to work on things that I can be away for a week and they don't break. And that's what that thing does.
Oh, that's brilliant. I did the crazy thing. I went to Home Depot. They had a sale. I should have known better. I was in a rush, about to leave on a trip to come to Boston. And I bought 40 Wiz bulbs because my other ones were slowly starting to die. Yeah. And Apple Home and Wiz are not friends.
They're not friends.
Hate each other. They're like
HA is your bridge for all of that. Right.
Like and then you have an HA app on the phone, right? And that's what your master controller now.
Done.
It's not the prettiest app I've ever seen.
Well, you can make it prettier if you care.
I've seen people do, kind of dashboards on tablets and stuff. They hang on the wall. They're things to do. Yeah. So you nailed it, which is that US East 1 is the oldest AWS.
That's it. Yeah.
Endpoint. And so there's this is what Ookla said. The affected US East 1 is AWS's oldest and most heavily used hub. Regional concentration means even global apps often anchor identity, state, or metadata flows there.
Yeah.
And when a regional dependency fails, as was the case in this event, that impacts worldwide because many global stacks go through Virginia at some point, just as you said, Doc. Behind those trees, the whole world is even Germany is being controlled.
Because you can hear that sucker and you can feel it. It's not that you can hear it. The hearing part, it depends on how old you are. But you can feel it like your bones
vibrate?
Vibrate. Yeah, because of all of the air fans that are going at one time.
A lot of the subsea cables across the Atlantic land at Reston, Virginia. So that is where the internet comes from Europe into the US. And so that's why data centers get positioned there, because you're close to the backbone that stretches across the ocean.
So good on Dan Gooden. I'll give him credit. Very good piece in Ars Technica explaining the whole thing and the dependence we all have on AWS. And I guess we learned a lesson. All this happens from time to time. In fact, inevitably, I'll hear from the people say, see, this is why the cloud is a bad idea. I don't think that the cloud is a bad idea.
No, this is misconfiguration on the customer's part. You need to be able to not have US East in your life. You need to have any given center not be in your life and you still function. Yeah. Or you're not credible. Like that's what the job is to, you're building resiliency, and resiliency means I don't care what center's down, we still work and degrade gracefully, right? At the minimum, those beds response to I can't connect is to go flat.
Yeah.
Right. That's not a big piece of software.
Correct.
Right.
Degrade gracefully. That's kind of my hope in my later years.
We're all trying, Leo. We're all trying. Some services are going offline, but at least they're degrading gracefully.
Well, and I want to clear something up in my head for nobody else, just in case anybody else missed it. When you say customer, you mean end user or customer as in Helix Mattress Company?
Both. Yeah. I mean, really, Helix should be, if
it wasn't Helix, by the way, it was Casper. Casper, 8 Sleep.
That gets you in trouble with
another
former
sponsor.
Picking an app. My bad.
But if I'm the 8 Sleep IT guy, part of my job is to know what happens when something offline. Right? Yeah. So as the old IT guy who's been through this a few times, when I look at what's going on in here, it's like, this is a configuration failure, right? I don't even know what's gone wrong with Amazon, but for my responsibility to my company, I should not be subjected to that. I should be my configuration should tolerate it.
We are an interesting situation. I think we talked about this. Maybe it was on MacBreak Weekly or Windows Weekly. Richard, of course, a regular on Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott. But single point of failure is kind of what's going on right now with the EU, with the courts, with Epic, with Google, with Apple. The choke point is the App Store. And we've set it up now that these most important computing devices in our lives, which is our smartphones, whether it's Apple or Android, essentially are controlled entirely by an app store, which is controlled by a single entity, which means that entity is vulnerable, whether it's to the US government or to the EU. Cory Doctorow has a good piece on this. The Mad King's Digital Kill Switch, he called it in his prolific blog. Cory's really a master of the language. But what he's talking about is this is a kill switch, in effect, for any government that can go to Apple. It's certainly a kill switch for Apple. Google, historically, Android has had kind of a back door because they've allowed you to sideload. But Google, in the last month, has started to change that by requiring that even third-party apps, the developers have to be notarized by Google, have to be approved by Google. So even F-Droid and these other third-party app stores will ultimately be routed through, in effect, Google. And Google has a kill switch now on everybody, on every app running on Android, just as Apple does. And while I trust Apple and Google, well, I sort of do. I mean, this comes up, and Cory's reminding us about Apple and Google both pulling down ICE apps like ICE Block. Apple also removed an app that didn't tell people where ICE was, but merely recorded or stored videos of ICE in action. Google and Apple both said that ICE was a protected class. And which I don't think is really what the point of protected classes are. And so we're going to pull all of those apps, not just the apps that say, here's where ICE is right now, but the apps that have recordings of ICE action. We're going to pull those all off the App Store. And he says, that's the problem now is he's again, and I'll say Corey is outspoken. He says, of course, iPhones can technically run apps that Apple doesn't want you to run. All you have to do is jailbreak your phone and install an independent app store. Just one problem, the U.S. trade rep bullied every country in the world into banning jailbreaking, meaning that if Trump, a man who never met a grievance that was too petty to pursue, orders Tim Cook, a man who never found a boot he wouldn't lick, okay, this is a little over the top, to remove apps from your country's app store, you won't be able to get those apps from anyone else. That is a single point of failure. And I think it has the same kind of fundamental flaw that we saw here with AWS. When you have a single point of failure, you're vulnerable.
Now, I got to tell you, like, this is my month in Europe traveling. I've been in Lisbon and Oslo and Stavanger and Trondheim and now in the Netherlands. I've never seen so many people talking about how do I be independent of American cloud products.
Of big tech. Yes. Yeah. Not just cloud products, but big tech in general.
They're very concerned about U.S. companies because they're watching U.S. company behavior right now and saying, my employer doesn't want me to be subject to this.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought when you think about it. And it's weird because, like, we complain every day in the office, don't tell Ken and Glenn, but they were like, we're not going to do any like eCam email on Google products. So we use like a Rackspace thing, which that drives me crazy because it's missing all the cool stuff that, you know, Gmail has. And of course, like now I use Notion Mail as a killer client. I can't use it with my eCam Mail account. So I still have to depend on Apple Mail, which just irritates me. We're funny from the Apple guy. And now when you see stuff like what's going on right now, you kind of get it. Like what was paranoia to me 5 years ago kind of makes sense. You know, it just seems like you see this coming from a whole bunch of places. And I'm hearing more and more people say that, like, how do we get to this particular point? Even to the point where Jack from Patreon is like telling people put their phone down. I'm like, wait, Jack, you make all your money from people being on their phone. But he's like, yeah, some of y'all need to chill out.
Corey talks about, I remember when Russians stole Ukrainian tractors and drove them to Chechnya, but they were all John Deere tractors. And so Deere remotely bricked them, which he says a lot of us cheered that high-tech comeuppance. But when you consider that Donald Trump or another government the U.S. government could order Deere to do this to all the tractors, this gets a lot more sinister.
And we talked about this during CSAM. It was a very similar kind of, process. Yeah. Like, any one company can just, especially when you consider the current administration and you consider what they were trying to do with CSAM, and they could be like, look, well, we're going to stop your, such and such merger if you don't just like completely blend the yellow and black sites from all devices that you made.
So did we take a wrong turn in technology by allowing this, or it's not too late, isn't it? I mean, I guess I could use open source software. I could use Linux. There aren't any really good open source phones. People have been trying. The Fairphone is close.
Yeah. But
are there ways?
We've had periods where we've had more open source options and so forth. Of course, there's ways. There's no reason we couldn't start jailbreaking again. It's just most people don't want to work that hard. The App Store is awfully convenient.
Right.
And the resistance to jailbreaking has got more to do with enforcement than it has to do with technical problems.
Right.
So it all depends on where we get to on this, but it has people thinking twice about an awful lot of their dependencies and just saying, like, what are we prepared to accept?
Yeah, it's just as this AWS outage probably did the same thing for a lot of companies.
The reality here is multiple cloud would have helped, but it wasn't actually the problem. Multiple region is all you actually needed. Right. And I just wonder how many of those IT folks thought they were multi-region and only found out when the most important region went down, oh, there's one service only in US East, and then nothing works.
Wow.
That's typically an authentication engine, any of those things. Oh yeah, no, like I said, there's a big configuration wave coming here because you just found out what sole dependency you had on US East, including a bunch, I think, of Amazon services themselves.
Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from a much longer show we call This Week in Tech. If you want to see the whole thing, there's a link down below. And you know what the best thing to do would be? Like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.